What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 57. We have Arman Sarukian going against Mateusz Gamrot.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
And we are back breaking down a 12-fight slate here. Should be a really good card, very underrated card if you ask me. Lots of great fights on this. Sorry for the delay in terms of getting the video out. I was getting back from Texas earlier in the week, so I'm kind of like a day behind with things, but next week, going to be getting it out, the Draftkings video fairly early, 276 next week pay-per-view. So as long as they get those salaries out early, the video should be out much earlier next week there. But yeah, looking forward to getting into it this week. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video as always. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Be sure to also check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Now's a great time to sign up, especially considering we have 5 cards in July and including 2 pay-per-views. So lots of content, lots of things behind the scenes. Go check it out, dfsbythenumbers.com. So we'll take a look at our fight. Doesn't go to decision lines as always. And up top, we have Curtis Vieira minus 750. Fight doesn't go to decision. I think on FanDuel Sportsbook, it's like minus 900. Fight doesn't go to decision there. It's safe to say that this fight is probably going to end inside the distance. I do have a lot of exposure to this fight. I do have a slight lean towards Vieira for a couple reasons, but I think most importantly, there's a $1,000 savings on Vieira here. He's 7,600. Curtis 8,600. I think this fight is borderline must roster. My ownership between the two are very close. I think it's either a Vieira early submission, first round submission, or I think Curtis knocks him out, probably that second or third there. So yeah, I think the fight finishes here. Not a hot take with that minus 750 fight doesn't go, but I think it's a very good fight to target. Next we have Nate Maness going against Umar Nurmagomedov, and yeah, I don't have a ton of Maness, but I don't want to completely cross him off here because this is a guy that I keep getting wrong. I think I'm 0 for 3 in terms of picking against this guy in his 3 UFC fights. And a lot of his fights, he's losing early on and then he has these comeback wins against Tony Gravely. The guy gets knocked out in the first round, comes back on the second and knocks out Tony Gravely. Against Munoz, the guy was very close to getting out of there in that first round, comes back and makes it a very competitive fight through those next 2 rounds. This is a guy that he has a lot of dog in him. This is a guy that you need to put away. If you don't, he can absolutely come back and either knock you out, submit you, or take over down the stretch. So, but this is a tough matchup. Umar Nurmagomedov, he's minus 1,200 on the money line. And I think Umar does get this fight down to the mat. And when he does, this guy's grappling's no joke. I think he submits Nate Maness and probably does it very early. So I'm more on the Nurmagomedov side myself. I don't hate anybody taking a punch shot on Nate Maness. I have a couple percent Maness myself because he does hit very hard. He's going to be the bigger fighter as well. And anything can happen. But yeah, Umar should get this done and probably in the first round. Neil Magny, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Yeah, I don't have a ton of Magny here. I do have more so on the Rakhmonov side. I really like this matchup for him. Rakhmonov, very dangerous anywhere the fight goes. A 100% finish rate. Almost half are by submission, almost half are by knockout. So he's dangerous on the mat, he's dangerous on the feet, and I do think he does finish Neil Magny, who has been finished 6 times, 6 of 8 losses, 5 times he's been finished inside the UFC. So I am on the Shavkat side. One of my favorite plays of the week, and will not be getting too much, Neil Magny at 6,900 there. And then we have Tafon Chukwu going against Carlos Ulberg, and this is a fight where I guess I could see it finishing, but I'm kind of leaning this one going to decision. Should be a close fight. I do lean towards Tafon here because I think he's the more well-rounded fighter here. I think he can go for takedowns. I think he can get some cage control. I think he has the better cardio as well. I just think he has more tools to win. If this was a 15-minute kickboxing match, I'd favor Ulberg there, but this is an MMA fight, and I do think that Tafon is the more well-rounded MMA fighter. So give me some Tafon here, 7,900. Ulberg 8,300. I'm not completely sold. Has not been impressed with his first fight against Kennedy and Nzechukwu, and then his second fight against the Water Buffalo Fabio Sharon. I've not been impressed with either of those performances, and I just think Tafon should get this done if he does fight smart and get some takedowns. So I'm more so on the Tafon side, and won't be getting to a ton of Ulberg, honestly. Core plays, Shavkat Rakhmonov, 9,300, talked about it a little bit. 9,300 for a guy that has a 100% finish rate. Neil Magny finishing in 6 out of 8 losses. The guy's dangerous everywhere. The guy's a lot of hype on him, and I think the hype is absolutely real. Give me some Shavkat to go out here and finish Neil Magny, whether it's a knockout, a club and sub, submission, ground and pound. I think he has a lot of opportunities to finish Magny here, and probably early as well. Sergey Morozov, 8,500. Yeah, I feel like if he wins this fight, it's probably going to score very well. Sergey Morozov, solid striking, solid volume, solid power as well. But I think the wrestling's going to be the biggest thing here. Paiva has been taken down multiple times in the UFC, and I think Morozov can absolutely rack up takedowns, rack up control time, and win a decision. A finish wouldn't completely shock me, but 8,500 from Morozov here, I think it's a pretty solid play. I'm going to have a decent amount of them. Rodolfo Vieira, 7,600, and like I said earlier, I'm going to be playing a bunch of both sides here. I think Curtis is absolutely live to knock out Rodolfo Vieira, but I also think at 7,600, a $1,000 savings, Vieira is very live to take this fight down to the mat and submit Chris Curtis in the very first round. We have seen some live movement come in throughout the week, and Vieira is like plus 100, minus 105, so this is a very close line, and we're getting a $1,000 savings on a guy in Vieira who has a 100% finish rate. He's averaging over 5 takedowns per 15 minutes, and if he does get the fight down to the mat, there's a really good chance he does submit Chris Curtis, but like I said, Vieira, I think I have slightly more Vieira than Chris Curtis. I'm still going to have a ton of Chris Curtis. I think somebody's getting finished here, and it's really hard to not see this fight end up on the optimal lineup at these price tags. And then finally, Arman Tsarukyan, 9,100. Love Arman here. 5 rounds to work with. Takedown upside, I think he's going to be the better wrestler here. Control time upside, there's going to be a lot of scrambles. There's probably going to be a lot of reversals, a lot of control time, a lot of takedowns mixed in this fight. I think it's going to be a very high-paced fight. I think there's going to be a lot of strikes thrown as well. And I think this fight as a whole is going to score very, very well. I don't hate stacking this fight in cash. I probably wouldn't stack it in tournaments. If somebody wanted to, I wouldn't hate a shot at that, honestly. But this fight should score very well, and I think Arman scores very well also. He's a minus 300 favorite here, which I don't really agree with, but I do think he wins this fight. I think his wrestling is going to be key here. I think his top control is going to be key, and I think he kind of drowns Gamrot. Decision, maybe late finish there, but I like Tsarukyan quite a bit at 9,100 cash in tournaments. GPP Plays here. Our tournament plays Umar Nurmagomedov 9,500. Yeah, one takedown is probably all it takes for Umar in most of his fights, really. I mean, we saw him take down Kelleher, and like a second later was able to sink in the choke. Like, I think he's going to have a big advantage against Nate Maness if it does hit the mat. I guess the problem would be, he might struggle to get it down there. Maness has shown some very good takedown defense. Maness is also going to be bigger, but like I said, I think it just takes one. And even against the cage, I feel like Umar can take the back, and if he takes your back, he's going to submit you. And then, like, even on the feet, I feel like he's going to have success. He has very good kicks, very good head kick, and I feel like he can hurt Maness with one of those head kicks as well. So I like Umar here, 9,500. I think one takedown and one back take, the fight's over. TJ Brown, 8,900, a play that I think is going to be going over the radar. You have guys up there like Umar Nurmagomedov, you have guys like Shavkat, guys like Arman. I don't think many people are going to get to TJ Brown, and I think this is a really good match for TJ Brown. Going against Shalion Nurdenbeke, who all he wants to do is take the fight down to the mat. Shalion has no striking to speak of, and if he goes down to the mat with Brown, like, Brown is the much better grappler. We've seen Shalion submitted 6 times. Shalion's been finished 8 times out of his 10 losses, and Brown is very slick on the mat, very dangerous. I think TJ Brown can sub him from bottom. I think if Brown gets on top, I think he can absolutely sub him there as well. I think Brown's very live for a finish in general. So on the feet, I favor Brown quite a bit. On the mat with the grappling, I favor Brown quite a bit. Shalion's path to victory is going to be taking down Brown for 3 rounds and staying safe on top, and I just don't know if that's the case. So I like TJ Brown quite a bit at 8,900, and I think he scores very well and even finishes Shalion here. Chris Curtis, 8,600. Yep, talked about it a bunch at this point. I mean, yeah, if he wins, it's going to be a knockout. Probably that first, second round. Like I said, I do lean more towards the Vieira side, especially at the price tag, but Curtis is a phenomenal play this week. Somebody's getting finished here. And then JP Plays, 8,200. Another fight that I think is pretty, I don't want to say sneaky to target, but I mean, this fight is 8,200 for Bays, 8,000 for Cody Durden. Like, this is going to be a very important fight to target. We've seen that the fight doesn't go to decisions, only like minus 110, but I do think this fight has a greater chance than that of finishing. Both guys are finishers. Both guys can be finished. I think it's going to be a high-paced fight. I think either guy's live for a knockout. I think either guy's live for a sub. I think somebody does get finished here. No strong lean one way or another for me. I think Bays is a good play. I think he's live. If he wins, it's probably in the very first round. He's dangerous in the first round, but we do see once the fight gets out of the first round, Bays kind of falls off a cliff there, and that's when I'd start to kind of favor Durden there. But yeah, I think somebody gets finished here, and I think this fight scores very well. Live dogs here. Cody Durden, just talked about him a little bit. Yeah, like I said, I don't have it really strongly one way or another. I think I'm pretty close in terms of ownership, but like I said, I think this fight at these price tags are very important. I think somebody does get finished here. I like the power of Durden. We've seen Bays show absolutely no chin. We've seen Bays quit in fights. We've seen him show no cardio. I like Cody Durden if the fight does get down the stretch. I guess I do lean towards Cody Durden ever so slightly, just based off the savings there, and I do trust him more as the fight gets extended, but like I said, I think somebody gets finished here. So either guy's fine. It's a fight I'm going to have a ton of exposure to. Tafon and Chukwut, 7,900. Yeah, I like Tafon here. I feel like this fight could play out somewhat boring, but Tafon, he throws a lot of volume. Tafon's going to have the better cardio. Tafon is going to be able to mix in takedowns here, get some control time against the cage, and I think he's going to grind this one out. And I'm not sure it's going to score extremely well, but he has a dog. He's 7,900. I don't hate some shots on Tafon here. If he does come in here with a good game plan, I think he does win the fight. I worry about the ceiling. Maybe a late finish for Tafon, but I'm kind of leaning more like a grinding decision. Josh Parisian, 7,800. Probably the worst fight on the card, but I feel like this fight has like sneaky finish potential. We have Alain Badeau, who's finished all of his wins. We have Josh Parisian, who's finished like all but one or two of his wins. Like, these guys are finishers. These guys are heavyweights. These guys are going to throw a lot of volume. These guys aren't going to, go for takedowns. They're not going to clinch against the cage. And there's been a lot of that in their past couple fights because their opponents are trying to do that to them. I don't think either guy is going to try to do that. I think they're going to stand and bang in the middle. And would anybody really be shocked if a heavyweight in this fight got a knockout? I know I wouldn't be. So this fight's going to be extremely low owned. I don't hate shots on either side. Nobody's going to play it. And again, I would not be shocked if it finished. So Josh Parisian, 7,800. Do I think he's great? No. But he is a heavyweight. He does throw a lot of volume. They do hit hard. And a finish would not shock me here. And then Brian Kelleher, 7,500. Yeah, kind of struggling for dogs here, honestly, but Kelleher, I guess, was the last guy that really stuck out. If he wins the fight, you got to expect takedowns from Kelleher, especially as of late. He's not going to go out there and win a 15-minute striking fight against Mario Batista. On top of that, Batista is much bigger, so I don't like that. But, if Kelleher is winning this fight, that does mean he's getting takedowns, maybe even finishing Batista. Batista's been finished a couple times in his career, so I don't hate some shots on Kelleher. Kelleher always seems to be the dog more often than not, and there's a lot of times he does pull off that upset, so I don't mind some shots on him at 7,500. Punt Plays, couple here. Shalion, Durden and Beke, 7,300. This is just because, TJ Brown, this guy is notorious for just pulling stunt after stunt after stunt. I don't trust TJ Brown's cardio. Do I think Brown wins this fight? Absolutely, he should. But, Brown does slow down as the fight goes on. We've seen him make a ton of mistakes in his career. We've seen him show a ton of bad fight IQ in his career as well. Shalion, if he wins this fight, he's going to score really good. I mean, Shalion, all he does is go for takedown after takedown after takedown. And if he wins this fight, it probably means that he's getting takedowns against TJ Brown consistently for 3 rounds and maybe even getting a submission along the way. So I don't hate some shots here of Shalion as a pump play because if he does win, his path to victory is just wrestling, and that's about it. Mateus Gamrot, 7,100. I have a decent amount of Gamrot, but, I have a ton of Sarukian. I'm about 100% exposed to this main event here. I think it's a fast-paced main event. I think either guy's live for a lot of strikes on the feet, a lot of strikes on the mat, a lot of takedowns, a lot of reversals, control time. I think both guys are live to score very well. Like I said earlier, I don't mind stacking this up in cash. Gamrot, 7,100 if he wins. I think it's a big score for sure. 5 rounds to work with. But yeah, he's a big dog here. And like I said, I don't agree with the line really. I think Sarukian should win. He should be favored, but the line is definitely wide. And Gamrot's a really good fighter. I mean, this guy's only lost 1 fight in his career. And that fight that he lost, you could argue that he actually won it. So I don't mind Gamrot. 7,100. I think this fight as a whole does score very, very well. And then we have the fade. Yeah, this is probably the easiest fade of the year, honestly. Jinyu Fry, 9,200. I mean, do you want to play Jinyu Fry over Umar Nurmagomedov? Do you want to play Jinyu Fry over Shavkat Rakhmonov? Do you want to play Jinyu Fry over TJ Brown? Do you want to play Jinyu Fry over Chris Curtis? Do you want to play Jinyu Fry over, Arman Sarukian? I mean, no, you don't. I can't get the Jinyu Fry. I think she wins, but she's low volume. She hasn't had a knockout since 2013. She's not going for takedowns. If she does, she's getting submitted. Easiest fade of the year for me. Watch her go out and knock out Vanessa now. I hope not. But yeah, I'm fading Jinyu Fry. All right. That is about it, guys. Went through it, 12 fights here. Talked about our cash, GPP, live dogs, pump plays, fades, all that good stuff. Be sure to leave a like on your way out, subscribe to the channel. Check out dfsbythenumbers.com for a lot of content behind the scenes, targets, projections, optimizer, article, just a ton of stuff, Discord, all that good stuff. Check that out, and we will talk to you guys very soon. Pay-per-view next week. And like I said, 5 cards in July, which is going to be insane. We have 2 pay-per-views in July, which I cannot wait for as well. So best of luck, guys, and let us make some money for UFC Vegas 57. See ya.